Samantha Colosimo Testa is on the phone to give us a little bit of insight on the deal here that we've been talking about this morning. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, Jay. Good morning, Dave. How are you guys?
Great. And are you superstitious, first of all? It's Friday the 13th.
I just realized that I was looking at the calendar and I saw it was Friday the 13th, so hopefully this interview goes well.
We'll make sure it does. You, of course, representing our area here where we're located at Canal Park for Roser Communications, North Utica, the 6th Ward. And we were talking about the land situation over by the Aud there, where not only is there a hospital that's been proposed there, but now perhaps a multi-use sports facility to be paired with the Aud. We're speculating as to what type of facility that might be, whether it's a mixed-use facility for youth sports or maybe a pro soccer team or a baseball team. Is there enough land for a small stadium like that?
I mean, the land is pretty big, and obviously there's other private developers in that area that they would have to talk to and expanding what they want to do fully. But, you know, there was a proposal, and I've sat on the Urban Renewal Board for 4 years now. And some of the things that we do on the Urban Renewal Board, obviously, is to sell property. The investors, the Purcell Group came in, they gave a proposal. One of the processes that you have to go through is public hearing. And what happened at the public hearing at last Wednesday's council meeting is somebody came and spoke, and there was another option that went on the property. So what the council did was they rejected the offer, gave the new proposal time to settle in and go back to the Urban Renewal Board to see if it was, a use for the property. The council's responsibility to say is to make sure that whatever property we sell is best used for the area. And the Comets have done a wonderful job in bringing that revitalization to the area. So the least that we could have did was listen to the proposal that they had and see if it was best used for that area.
But I guess the question is, why now? The city has held on to this piece of property for a long time. The Aud has been there for a long time. Frank has been there for a while and doing some development. We've seen some developments with Tony's Autolicious there and AP Master Images, the ConMed building developing in some loft area space there. So why now? Why do you think that it took this long to maybe name a developer that was to come in and invest $13 million in a housing project, and then all of a sudden a new group, Frank DeRoss and Carl Neese, hopping into the urban renewal meeting and giving their weight on what they would like to do?
Well, I think, to say that the building's been for sale for 10 years, I think it was just a little bit of a surprise that somebody came in and actually put a purchase onto the building. And I don't know if their plans were in a ready enough stage to actually go and put a purchase offer in, which hence the reason the Purcell Group wasn't going to start building on the construction until April. So to give everyone enough time to make sure that we vetted both the options, was pretty responsible of the council to go back and send it to Urban Renewal Agency to see our options.
So is there still a viability for the Purcell Group to...
Right. And another thing that we discussed amongst ourselves throughout that meeting was to make sure that if the apartment complex does go up, which is a market rate housing, I mean, they spent a number of years to tear down Washington Court and to make that land buildable again. And one of the things, what our concern was, is if the Purcell Group did build the apartment complex, would it eventually turn into low-income housing, because they actually could apply for tax credits? So that was one of the concerns, and actually one of the reasons that we actually sent it back to the Urban Renewal Agency to see if there was, an option that we could look at to make sure that didn't turn into that, once again. I mean, that area wasn't an area where people wanted to, go to, and, we've got to protect that, that it took us this long to get to that point to make sure that we don't revert back. And I stated in the article to make sure it's not deja vu for the auditorium, that entire area all over again.
So do you think this is a little bit of oddity in the fact that in the beginning of October that the Common Council was out there? I'm not sure if you were out there, but I know a lot of Common Council members were out there in the announcement that the mayor made on that parcel with the Purcell Group, and those folks were present, that this property would be sold. Does this usually happen?
Yeah, you know what? It does happen sometimes, and not to something to this extent. A multi-million-dollar use for the piece of property that they were going to purchase. But I mean, we usually sell homes, and say somebody comes in, and there's a specific case that somebody else wanted to purchase the property, and one of the things that the Urban Renewal Agency does is it's not a city auction, so we're actually able to vet all our options out to make sure that whoever we sell a piece of land to is sold that with the best use and interest. So that was one of the things that we have done prior, and hence the reason why they actually have a public hearing. We could just sell the property like we do in the city auction, and then not have any opportunity to go back and look on the property. But the state put in the Urban Renewal Agency for that specific reason, to make sure that you sell properties in the urban renewal districts to make sure that they're best used for the land.
I'm talking to Samantha Colosimo Testa from the North Utica 6th Ward here on the Talk of the Town, 100.7 FM WUTQ. A texter, Samantha, says, how's the sports complex and a hospital complex going to mix together in that area? What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, the hospital is obviously, they're in the same area. But, I mean, when you look at the auditorium and talking with the investors that, the Comets Association and the auditorium, I mean, they're looking to deem that district as a sports and entertainment district. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the overall area, I mean, it's an excellent idea to, specify the areas. Like, you've got the Bag Square Association, you've got, you just had Michelle Classic on, they have the Barrack Street District. So I think to look at it in a broader perspective, to make sure that that area stays, a sports and entertainment district, if we have the option to go back and look at a $45 million complex. And they're so early in the stage for what they want to do, and they needed about a month to get all their plans in place and then present them to the council. I mean, to hold off for a month to make sure that area stays in a theme that they would desire is something that we looked at, and it was another consideration to a reason why we sent back to the Urban Renewal Agency.
Can you confirm the type of sports complex that would be? Baseball, soccer, or multi-use for youths?
I don't. They talked about it, but it was, like I said, it was so early in the stages that mm-hmm. they need to get their plans in place and then present them. And I'm pretty sure everybody, including myself, will be, surprised and ecstatic about what they plan on putting there.
When would we know that, by the way?
I'm sorry.
When would we know the exact nature of that facility?
When we talked with Frank Duras, and he said that it would be about a month before they were able to present the plan.
Okay.
And how about the funding?
And I just wanted to add too that Rob Esch and the auditorium really are really excited about the hospital downtown. And when you talk about people actually going to the downtown area, a multi-use facility, in that district is going to be really something that I couldn't wait to see their plans for.
What do you think about infrastructure now? That's been a topic as far as a hospital coming downtown, and now maybe tying into a large sports complex, I guess, if you will, in this nature. Do you think there's some real need to look at infrastructure there? Water, sewer, electric, power, those type of things?
Oh, without a doubt, and that's some of the things where when you look at that land, they demolished those buildings, years ago, and you were trying to look at the best use, which we haven't had investors coming to this area. I mean, and actually fighting over a piece of property, and that's something that we have to, step back and say, okay, are we just going to sell ourselves short, or are we going to actually look at all our options? And definitely the infrastructure down there. But if you looked at Tony's Autolicious, I mean, they purchased that building. They were able to use it to the use that they planned on doing. You look at A&P Master Images. They put up a building. I mean, he's been, outstanding down in that area. But as far as the infrastructure goes, it's definitely something that they got to look at. And one of the components to the Purcell Group was obviously putting an apartment complex, which would have to, use all those needs for that area, especially when looking at the infrastructure.
And Frank DeRoss recently purchasing a building on Broad Street. Was that same process gone through as far as him purchasing that building there?
Well, it was Frank DeRoss and another partner, and they're looking at something at a total bigger picture for the old ConMed building.
Right, but did that go through the same urban renewal process as this property?
Yes. That went through the same urban renewal process. We had a public hearing, and there some things go a little smoother than others, and this one was something that we had to take a step back, like I said before, and make sure that we sell this property as a best use.